Value-driven.
This time around, we're talking about this book. It's called Vanessa's Choice. The author is Sonya, and it really is your story, but with the names changed and all kinds of and the locations changed.
Correct.
But this is a really, in some ways, brutal story, which becomes a blessing in a lot of ways, doesn't it?
Yes.
Give me the and also we should mention that, and Sonya will tell you, she's not in the business of trying to convince anybody one way or another is the right way or the wrong way for you to live, but it is your story.
Correct.
Tell me how this started, where you were before this story began.
Well, I wasn't in the right places before that story began. I was pretty, I'll use the word wild for better words, excuse me, but I was pretty wild and free. I mean, I was 17 when I was on my own, and from age 12 to 17, I basically raised myself. So my mother was there. She worked all the time.
Right.
So raising yourself and then being on your own at such a young age without really any guidance doesn't give you a clear path to go on.
I don't want to give away I want people to read the book, so I don't want to tell too much of the story, but basically what happens here, Vanessa, the lead character, you,
Yes.
Find yourself pregnant and kind of alone and without guidance, as you mentioned, and you have to make certain decisions and certain things happen. How did you get, what do you think guided you from that kind of a desperate situation to where you are now?
Nothing is worse than seeing yourself fail time after time. And it's easy to hang around people who are failing also. You know, you support each other in your failures. But when you're around decent people, and I never wanted my family to see me fail. You know, you put on a different air for people you love than people who you're just around.
Right.
I just got tired of the failure and my family seeing me do the wrong thing, and they never let their hands off of me doing the wrong thing, but it just so happened one day I ran into the right people and my whole life changed. Didn't know at the time it was a minister and his wife, but it will set the precedence of your future when you replace negativity with positivity. It just will set you on a totally different path. Part of that path, though, was healing for me because this whole book was just put out of my memory. It was I didn't even remember half of those things. They were fed to me later. But changing your life, sometimes you have to step outside of the norm for you. Norm for me is quiet. I'm private. I don't like for anybody to know my business, where I've been, where I'm going, what I've done. So writing that book was one thing, but then releasing it and talking to people about it is way outside of my spectrum. But I feel as though that is my purpose now, to try to help other people who have to make tough decisions, and the decisions in that book are very hard.
Now and when you were 17 years old and starting to face the main decisions that you face in here, that's an age where, you know, some kids are pretty mature at 17, but that's still, you're still pretty young. There's still a lot of things that you don't know, and you may think you know a lot, but there are a lot of things you don't know. What was it that you really, now looking back, and you said when you started to write this, it was cathartic, it was a therapy for you.
Yes.
What do you think, looking back, was there in that 17-year-old that got her through somehow, some way?
That's nothing but God. But I was 23 actually when I had to make the decision to keep my son or give him up. 17 to 23, you would think some maturity would have set in, but it had not. I was still the same at 23 that I was at 17, that I was at 24, even after I went through some of these things. But once you start to grow up internally, and you're tired of being tired, and you're tired of never having, you know, because you're never wanting really anything better than what you have. You see other people with better, and you know you can do the same. That's major. And another big point for me is I had a daughter before I gave up my son for adoption, and to see her growing up without me, really, even though we're in the same house, she was growing up without me, and I was missing major things. That was probably my focal point, her. And that was probably what brought me to all the changes in my life. I didn't want to miss another thing.
This is the book. It is called Vanessa's Choice. We're going to talk more about it. Sonya Artis is the author. It is her story, and you can find this everywhere and anywhere, and go into your bookstore and ask for it. You can also go to Amazon.com and ask for it. And we're going to talk some more to Sonya about her life's journey and how she got to where she is today and where she hopes to go next. And we'll be back. More about Vanessa's Choice in just a little bit.